I'm going to continue on this week with part 2 of the message called Believe. And I'll just do a short recap of what I talked about last week to start with. I said, if you remember, Jesus talked a lot about believing. And so it must be vital for us that we believe in him. It's something that we have to work at and to practice. And I took as that verse John chapter 6 and verse 29. John chapter 6 and verse 29. And Jesus answered and said to them, "This is the work of God, that you believe in him whom he has sent." This is the work of God, that we believe in Jesus, the Son of God, who's been sent by God the Father. And I said, when I looked up the definitions of what believe is, it's to take as true and real, and it's to have confidence in a statement or a promise. And it's to have faith, especially religious faith. And then the definition of faith was unquestioning belief in God, to trust. And so to believe and faith, they go together in our unquestioning trust in God. And to continue in faith and believe, it takes commitment on our path. We have to work at it. It's not something that just automatically happens. And we have to hold on to our belief in Jesus, the Son of God. And the Bible is full of the experiences of people who have walked in faith and belief. And we can learn much from them. And so last week we looked at Abraham, that he believed in God. And God's promise to him that he would be the father of many nations. But when time passed and this didn't happen, Abraham and Sarah tried to take matters into their own hands to help God's plan along. But when we receive a promise from God, we need to wait in his timing and hold fast our belief that God will bring it to pass, even when in the natural that doesn't seem possible. And then looked at David, that as a teenager he was anointed to become the king of Israel. But the events that followed appeared to be favourable to him. He became a favourite in the king's household. He married the king's daughter, and it seemed as if everything was on track. But then the king's hatred and jealousy forced him to become an outcast and to live in the wilderness. And twice David had the opportunity to kill the king and make that come to pass in his own strength. But he refused. And he waited for God's timing until God did bring that promise to pass. And that's why David said from the heart, that verse that we read in Psalm 27 and verses 13 and 14, where he said, "I would have despaired unless I'd believed that I would see the goodness of the Lord." Those 13 years in the wilderness that David had, he said he would have despaired unless he believed that God would bring his word to pass. And he goes on to say, "Wait for the Lord, be strong, and let your heart take courage." Yes, wait for the Lord. And to wait for the Lord, to work at remaining strong in our belief in God.